A video has emerged from last month's Boxing Day Test cricket match in Melbourne, showing some Australian cricket fans chanting, "Where's your visa?" apparently directed at Indian fans. Some have claimed that they weren't actually saying visa, but rather pizza. "Where's your pizza?" I don't know why anybody would be asking Indian fans where their pizza is, but I guess we'll just have to wait for the forensic analysis in the same vein as the anti-Israel protests that occurred outside the Sydney Opera House in 2023, where protesters politely asked, "Where's the Jews?" Not the originally reported statement shown on screen, according to forensic analysis. The peaceful protesters also threw in a few "F the Jews" for good measure. "Where's the Jews? Where's your visa?" Everyone seems to want to know the location of something or someone. But let's assume the Aussie fans were indeed chanting, "Where's your visa?" How do you think the media reacted? ABC. Video showing racist chant at Boxing Day Test, labelled not appropriate. Racist chant. Of course, the Indian media have jumped on board. Indian fans face racism with "Where's your visa?" chants. Real face of Australian crowd, racist chants. Pure racism. You get the idea. Racism at its worst here in this godforsaken hellhole that we call Australia. A country so racist that nobody in the world wants to live here. Well, I jest. Immigration rates are through the roof. Everybody wants to live here. Even the ABC recently reported migration balloons by 80,000 above expectations, adding to housing pressures. That's the thing about mass immigration. You can't hide it. So that brings me to my first point about the allegedly racist chant, "Where's your visa?" Obviously, everybody in the crowd, who is not an Australian citizen, probably has a valid visa, because the Australian government hand them out like chicken feed. Who hasn't got a visa to Australia? This makes me think this question was clearly a jibe, cricket banter. The only people who don't get visas to Australia are people who hold, supposedly, the wrong views. For example, conservative US commentator Candace Owens was refused a visa recently. Is this racist, refusing a foreign national entry? So much for free speech in Australia. Or more recently, former Israeli Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked, a right-wing politician, was also denied a visa. Apparently, it's racist to jokingly ask a crowd, "Where's your visa?" But actually denying a person a visa because of their political views, that's perfectly fine. What a topsy-turvy world we live in here in Australia. Secondly, regarding the allegedly racist chant, in their article, the ABC reported that officers were deployed to specific aisles in response to two opposing supporter groups who were taunting and waving flags at each other. Victoria Police said no criminal offences were detected and no supporters were kicked out or sanctioned. Last time I checked, racial discrimination was illegal, so according to the police at least, no breach of this has occurred. Asking a person where their visa is might not be particularly friendly, it's not something I'd say, but it is not legally racist, despite the ABC calling it as such. They also reported neither the MCG or Cricket Australia said they received any formal complaints over the chant. So the police said that nothing illegal occurred, none of the crowd have complained about it, so what's the issue? Is this just a media-fueled storm in a teacup? I think so. Thirdly, if you check the Australian government's immigration website, they have something called VIVO, Visa Entitlement Verification Online. This allows employers to check the visa status of their workers. Not only are they allowed to ask employees about their visas, they are legally obligated. You must check you are employing someone who can legally work in Australia. So essentially, they are legally obligated to ask, "Where's your visa?" Is this considered racist? As a Chinese national, my wife has often looked for work in Australia, with my assistance, and she has always asked about her visa, pretty much simply because she looks different and she speaks with an accent. I've applied for many jobs where nobody has ever asked me anything about my visa or citizenship status. If this question is racist, then the whole bloody visa system is racist, because it's treating people of different nationalities differently, simply because of where they are from. But of course, we accept this, because if we didn't, then there's no such thing as a sovereign country or border. If we can't refuse access to people because of their nationality, well, simply put, we would be overrun. Guess what? Australia doesn't check your visa anymore because it's racist. Let's go! Fourthly, if this is the extent of racism in Australia, where's your visa? We're doing pretty bloody well. This is pretty tame by world standards. Let's take India, for example. There's a video going around where a northeastern Indian vlogger is being called racial slurs because he looks a little bit Chinese. Actually, his family, including his uncle and brother, are stationed at the Indian-Chinese border protecting India. Yet people in his own country label him Chinese and use hurtful slurs. He expressed how such remarks make him feel excluded in his own homeland, with fellow Indians rightfully asking, if this is how we treat our fellow Indians, how can we expect them to feel part of the nation? This reflects our failure as a society. We can't claim unity while mocking our own. This incident is a wake-up call for India to confront these biases and internal racism. Obviously, that is only one of many such examples. Fifthly, India aren't exactly innocent when it comes to racism and cricket. Does anybody remember the late cricketer Andrew Symonds? While playing in India, he faced lots of racism. Indian cricket fans accused of racist abuse, where they allegedly taunted him with monkey gestures. Even the players got in on the action, with off-spinner Harbhajan Singh being banned for 3 test matches for racially abusing the Australian all-rounder. Despite this, I believe they went on to become quite good friends, playing for the same Indian cricket team. Let's not forget the Usman Khawaja controversy, where in 2011 the Australian batsman was denied an Indian visa, at least initially, because he was born in Pakistan. He got the same treatment in 2023, causing him to miss his flight to India alongside his teammates and had to spend the night by himself in an airport hotel. Sixth, don't get me started on the Indian caste system, an ancient system of social hierarchy based on purity and heredity. Caste remains off-limits in corporate India's drive for diversity. And if you thought that these Indian problems didn't exist in Australia just a few months ago, even in Australia, alarming levels of caste discrimination exist. Seventh, fair skin favouritism in India, or colourism as they call it, a form of discrimination that favours light-skinned members of the same ethnic group, where it's been shown in studies of Indian arranged marriages that darker-skinned candidates were rated lower in preference by prospective mothers-in-law. Consequently, skin lightening creams are incredibly popular in India. Unsurprisingly, colonialism and capitalism are to blame for this unhealthy obsession with skin colour. As with most things nowadays, if you can't find something to blame, blame British colonialism. It allegedly has caused all the ills of society. Eighth, Indian batsman and former captain Virat Kohli, as well as some Indian fans, like to remind everyone that Australian cricketers are cheats, referring to the sandpaper scandal of 2018, where a few Australian players were banned when caught tampering with the ball with sandpaper. Calling all Australians cheats because of the actions of a few, is that not in the same ballpark as a few fans questioning the migration status of a few Indian supporters? What about the Barmy Army? They often refer to Australians as convicts, among other things. For example, in one song they sing, "You all live in a convict colony," to the tune of Yellow Submarine. Is this racist, calling an entire nation of people convicts? No, we take it in good fun. We realise it's just sporting rivalry. Cricket banter. And finally, perhaps the most egregious example in this video, there are reports of Indian fans on social media suggesting that Australian players get the Philip Hughes treatment, referring to 25-year-old Australian cricketer Philip Hughes, who was struck on the neck by a bouncer, leading to a fatal brain hemorrhage. Is this on the same level as asking about the visa status of a few Indian fans in a joking sort of way? Look, Obviously, two wrongs don't make a right. Just because some Indian fans have been racist in the past, I'm certainly not suggesting that Aussie supporters should be racist back. However, let's keep this all in perspective. In a large crowd of people where two groups of rival supporters are sitting right next to each other, some drinking beer, is the question, "Where's your visa?" really such a big issue? In the grand scheme of things, I don't think so. Actually, by calling this racist, by using the term racist too frequently or inappropriately, it just dilutes the meaning, with it losing its impact and significance. If the ABC or whoever else overused this term, if this term is thrown around carelessly, it just becomes harder to address genuine instances of racism. How about we just all tone it down a little and stop accusing each other of being racist when that's not what it is?